everybody. I wanted to just share a little testimony of the call to arms and the men's conference this year. Just a few wanted to share with you. Felt led to just share with you guys. So it's late. My son just came home from work. So if I'm talking a little low, it's because everybody's asleep. So, but anyway, my son came home and he texted me and said he wanted to talk to me. And so when he got home, some things have transpired, and I'll kind of share that with you as I tell a testimony. But anyway, I wanted you to know that he came home. We had a long discussion, man to man, heart to heart, and things got a lot better. So back to the testimony. So the last couple of weeks, I've been just really busy at work and just been going through a lot, just draining emotionally and spiritually and physically. And so that includes, Miles got sick and he was in the PICU went to the hospital, and we had that going on. And then I had me and my oldest son, we were kind of going back and forth with some things, and just a lot of things going on. And so me and my wife had already purposed to start a tradition of taking each boy when they were seniors to call to arms. So that's basically what we kind of purposed to do, and that's what I was excited about that. I was really excited about having that happen. And so this year was our oldest son, and so Thursday was the beginning, supposed to be the beginning of the Call to Arms conference. And so, of course, my day at work was not a great day. Started off with someone calling me calling me the N-word a couple of times. And I didn't know or realize how much it had affected me until I kept festering on it all day, and I was pretty hurt by it, and unfortunately it was another veteran, older veteran, but still, nonetheless, it kind of hurt me, and it kind of threw me for a loop for the rest of the day. So that happened to me early in the day on Thursday. And then on top of that, those of you that are nurses, you know what a code brown is. I had a code brown. I had to help a gentleman, and so that really just made for to top the day off at work. I was like pretty bummed out. But I was still excited about going to this men's conference, Call to Arms. I was ready to come. I was expectant. I was just ready to receive, ready to be a sponge, and I was really excited because my son was going with me. And that's the biggest reason. And so I got home, and my son really didn't act like he wanted to go, but that's okay. I said, come on, let's go. So we headed to the conference. And as I'm headed to the conference, prior to this, I had posted what happened to me at work on Facebook. And I posted that I was, looking forward to the conference and stuff. So on the way to the conference, I get a call from Greg. And Greg calls me and says, hey, Pastor wants to talk to you before the conference. How long are you going to be before you get here? So it was already actually, we got there probably about 2 minutes to 7. The conference starts at 7. And so I hadn't registered yet. So I got there with my son, and Darren, my brother Darren, was meeting us there. So I got there and I got in line to register, me and my son. And as I'm sitting there waiting, I text Greg. I said, hey, I'm here. And so Greg comes to me and he says, hey, hold on. Pastor really want to talk to you before the conference. So I said, okay, I'm going to get in line and register. And he said Pastor was eating. So he said, hold on, and he'll go get him. So he went, and I proceeded to go ahead and, get registered and pay for our registration. But Pastor came out, and he started talking to me, and he's like, hey, I'm really sorry about what happened. And at first I was kind of like, well, I didn't understand what he was talking about. But I had forgotten about my Facebook post. So Pastor, his compassion was just amazing. He gave me a hug, and I kind of wept a little bit because, it hurt me. It had affected me a lot to be called that, And anyway, he chatted with me. He kind of made me laugh. He said there's good white people, and that kind of broke the ice, made me laugh. But just the fact that he stopped what he was doing 2 minutes prior to the conference starting, came out there and was compassionate in that aspect. And then to top it off, he said, hey, I got this. And, he took care of the conference for me and my son, and that really ministered to me, and that really ministered to my son, that the favor of God was just on us like that, to where, that took place. And on top of that, pastor having the compassion to do that, and you really don't, a lot of times you don't think, just because you have a big church, the pastors are busy. The tendency is to think that pastor's busy. He doesn't think he doesn't know everything. He doesn't talk to everybody. But the truth is, pastor, he's younger than you think. He's got Facebook and stuff like that, and I can appreciate that about our pastor. So anyway, so he paid for that, and we went in. We started, going for the conference and enjoying it. But so the devil still was at work. Me and my son were still kind of, my son really didn't seem like he wanted to be there. Typical teenage stuff. And it kind of hurt me, because here I am thinking, oh, it got paid for. And so along the ways, me and my son went back and forth. And finally, like the second day, I just, he really didn't want to come, so I didn't make him come. So all that said, throughout each speaker, I started just realizing that each speaker was talking about how Rhema Bible Training Center or Rhema College had affected their lives, and how the ministry, Kenneth Hagin ministry, and all that Pastor Hagin had done had affected their lives. And so as they were talking about that, I started putting myself in remembrance of the things that, this ministry has helped me personally. And it really humbled me, because I started realizing there's so much that I should be grateful for this ministry, for the ministry and for the training center. Because I'll be honest, like some of these speakers were saying, if it wouldn't have been for this was the end of the road for me. I'll be honest. If Rhema Bible Training Center wouldn't have worked, I was going back to be a heathen. I mean, I'm just I'm serious. I just, this was kind of the last straw for me, and I'm glad that I decided to come to Rhema Bible Church, because this is what changed me. I know I'm not worshiping man. I'm not worshiping Pastor Hagin. I didn't even know who Pastor Hagin was before I came to this place. But I will say God has really used this man and in this ministry. And I am a product of Rhema Bible Training Center. I am a product of God's grace through this mandate that was given to Pastor Hagin. And so all that said, the conference was great, and I soaked up everything I could. And my son was still kind of, that second night, it was just wasn't really in a good place, and I started fleshing out about it. And so basically, that third day, I came by myself to the service, and I had this big picture of how it was supposed to be. I had this wonderful picture of me and my son worshiping through the conference and getting to just enjoy each other and spend time together, and actually having communion that last day together. That had this perfect picture. And the enemy just, he was just running rampant, and then Pastor Craig, that last day he spoke, and he was up there, and the first thing he comes out, one of the first scriptures he pulls out is John 10:10. And it hit me this whole time. The devil will come like a thief to steal, kill, and destroy. Okay? And so it hit me. When he pulled that, before he even recited the verse, when he said John 10:10, it hit me. All this stuff that I had been going through the past couple of weeks, and then the thing with my son, the devil was trying to steal my joy. The devil was trying to do all this. And so I just got built up in my spirit as Pastor Craig continued to preach. And I just said, no, I will stand. I will stand in who I am in Christ, and I am the head. And I just continue to just build myself up. And as I listened to him more and more, I started feeling my spirit man get lifted. And so they had communion. They started beginning to put out communion, and I had to get my heart right. My heart wasn't right. I was fleshing out with my son. I was sitting here going through other things that I needed to just ask God to forgive me for, because you should never take communion without making sure you examine your heart and you ask God for forgiveness for anything that's in your heart. So I did that, and as I was doing that, I could feel my spirit just thinking about my son, and I was just like, man, how can I get to him? And he's not here. He didn't hear all these sermons, you know. And I'm like, well, so I had bought the MP3s so that he could listen to them. Well, that wasn't good enough. I really wanted the DVDs, but you know, I just had that in my heart. So at the end of the service, they started having. I did my communion, as I had communion, I just, again, I asked God, what can I do to reach my son? So then they had the raffles. They were doing the raffles. So they started the raffles, and I had my ticket, and there were 59 gifts. And so I was, they called my number at the 57th gift, you know, and I was like, when they called my number, I was like, oh, you know, and I got up, went and got it, and it was a bag. It was a call to arms bag. And so when I opened the bag, lo and behold, you know, God hears the desires of your heart. And so I got the DVDs. And so I was just so grateful for God's favor on my life, and to know that God hears me even when I don't speak. He hears my heart. And so I got the DVDs. I was blessed with them. So now my son can watch them. I really wanted him to see them. And so not only that, here I am praying for my son, and I get blessed because I got this book. And so Darren was with me. He was sitting next to me. And the book is How to Live Worry-Free. You know, and we looked at each other, and I looked at him, and we kind of like, he was like, yep, there you go. You know, I know you're not supposed to worry, you know, and the thing is, with children, you always want to make sure that you wonder if you've taught them everything. And so for me, I have 5 boys, and I'm always just making sure, did I do this? Did I do what I need to do? And so I sometimes fall into worry. I flesh out and I worry, and I know I shouldn't, but it's natural. I mean, I love my kids. I love my boys. So anyway, I was blessed by that. All that favor, you know, the pastor paying for the thing, me getting this gift, I knew it was all a God thing. And so I say all that to share this testimony because for 2 reasons. So the 2 things I want you to just take home from this testimony video is, number 1, God knows the desires of your heart, you know, and you need to make sure that you know that the devil is trying to steal your joy. You need to be built up. You need to be aware of that and make sure that you don't let him do that. You stand in who you are in Christ, okay? The devil's out there. He's lurking, and you need to be mindful of that. Number 2, the biggest thing is that, you know, a lot of times people think, oh, pastor, he don't talk to everybody. It's a big church. But listen, we have great pastors. Pastor Hagan, Miss Lynette, I mean, they are just compassionate. They love God. They love people, no matter who you are, no matter what color you are. I'm a witness. I just wanted to share how compassionate our pastor is. You know, he didn't have to do what he did that day. He didn't have to read that Facebook post. He didn't have to, you know, but he did. You know, and in my life, I can say that there's been so many times that he's been compassionate in my life. When my dad died and when he was dying, Pastor himself called me all the way in Germany, called me and talked to me, you know, and so that's big. That meant a lot to me, you know. And then even with Miles being in the hospital prematurely, even before when my wife was on bed rest in the hospital, we had somebody from the church every day come to encourage us. That's big. A big church like that. Even Pastor himself would call and check, see how Miles was, see how my wife was doing, you know, in other events, you know, even with this Facebook post, something as simple, you know, as this Facebook post. You know, you would think, you know, he's very young, so, you know, he's hip with the Facebook stuff and social media, you know. And so I just appreciate that. I appreciate his realness. He's relatable, and he does have compassion. He does see what's going on out in our church, and he does reach out just like a pastor should, even though it's a big church, you know. And we have great pastors. You know, I'm very appreciative of all that Rhema Bible Church has done for us. All that the training center itself has changed my life, has changed my life in the course of my kids' life. my children's life and their children's life. And I know that it's a God thing. I know that it's God to be the glory goes to God. But you have to honor the man that followed a mandate, that was obedient, and has touched lives. As the conference went on, I just kept hearing that, echo the things that Pastor continued to do and the lives that he touched because he was obedient. We all have a purpose, and we need to make sure that we're understanding what that purpose is and what God has for us, and we're obedient to follow through with it, because you don't know how many destinies are connected to that. Pastor Hagan, Miss Lynette, the staff, I love y'all. The Motley family loves y'all. We love our church. We just appreciate everything that you've done for us, and we'll continue to serve under you all until God says move. But he hadn't said move, so we're still here. Again, we have great, relatable, real pastors who love their congregation and would reach out at any cost. Appreciate you, Pastor. Love you. God bless you.